Hey guys, it's Brenda from the scholarship team. Major apologies for the technical difficulties we had this morning. This is the webinar for FEND Project 1, how to build a portfolio site. Difficulties we had this morning. One second. This is the webinar for FEND Project 1, how to build a portfolio site. Difficulties we had. Okay. Sorry about that. It's been a crazy morning. Anyway, to start back up again, this is the webinar for FEND Project 1, how to build a webinar site. We're very lucky today to have project coach Ivan, who is going to be giving a walkthrough of how to build a webinar, how to build a portfolio site. After that, we'll be taking your pre-submitted questions, and then we will be taking live questions. So without taking up any more time, I'm going to hand this over to Ivan. And for those of you, this may be your first time meeting Ivan. So welcome, Ivan. Thank you so much for being here today. Go ahead and start sharing your screen.
Yeah, sure. Hello, everybody. I'm Ivan. Well, I'm a full stack developer at a startup. So I found out about Udacity in 2015. I was in this conference it was conference held by Google Developers Group, and they were sharing Android nanodegree videos, and then I got some, and I really liked them, and I kept learning from there. And then now I learn Android development and front-end development. So for today, what we're going to do, I'm going to give you a walkthrough the project to build your portfolio. I'm going to basically, my idea, it's not actually to solve the problem or to make the portfolio. I just wanted you to see how I would approach such problem, what the steps I would take, and all of that. So I'm going to start sharing my screen now. Start. Brenna, can you see my screen?
Yes, Ivan, I can see your screen.
Oh, great. So I'll start. This is the build a portfolio site, description, project, how they want it to be, what are the resources they give you to the project. So what I'm going to do is to read a bit and then talk about each point, whenever possible, all of these points, and then I'm going to get my hands to work. So they say for this project, they're going to provide you with a design mockup in a PDF file. I think this is the mockup. So I'm going to download this PDF file just to check it out, how the layout should look according to Udacity. So this is how it should look. You have a logo here, and then you have your name and your title, and then you have this bar, you have an image, and then you have like small images at the bottom with subtitles on those images. Well, and they have the colors for each images. So I'm going to keep reading through it so we can find out more what they want more on this project. And then they say they give me the project rubric. I'm pretty sure that all of you now know what exactly is a project rubric. So I'm gonna open it. So here's the project rubric. Well, I saw that page has more text, so I would rather read the entire text of this page and find out more, and then I'll come back to the project rubric. So they give me the link to submit the project, and then this part is called style guides. Usually when you're making a project, it's nice to have a project well organized. And what do I mean by well organized? I mean you should have consistent indentation, like they say here. I mean, you either use tabs or spaces, and so it can be easier to read to other people, so we can understand the hierarchy of the elements. For instance, if you have a HTML file that's well indented, I can easily find out where does this div open, where does the div close, and much more. And then they say use IDs and class names with meaningful names, and they have all these instructions. I'm pretty sure that most of you have already this, and I think for the project one, if you do the project one, you usually already have used most of this stuff. They ask you to use UTF-8 as a class. They ask to use semantic tags. We are going to get to this point later about semantic tags. They ask you to remove to-do references. And then this last section, it's about how you should submit and all of that. So we are going to the project rubric. So here I'm going to find out what's expected from me to do in this project. What are the tasks that I should do in this project? So I'm going to start with the design requirements. And here are some of the requirements that says, for instance, the project has to have at least 4 images. It has to have a title text and a regular paragraph text and a logo. Well, I think this answers most of the students' questions, because I read a lot of questions about students asking whether whether you can customize this layout that Udacity gave you, or you really have to do it look like this. Well, if you read through this point here on the design specifications, they say, for instance, here are the required elements. If you make sure that your website has 4 images, has a title text, and a paragraph and a logo, if you have all of these elements on your website, it doesn't have to look exactly like this design, as long as your hands covered. So I think the idea here is that you don't have to. Udacity provided this PDF, so you don't have to go through the struggle of having to design your own. Like if you don't want to design your own, you can start from here, or you can use this layout exactly as it is. So it's up to you. You can customize it as long as it has these elements here. And also there's another requirement. They say to use semantic tags, and they say no div or section are without CSS class or ID. So what are semantic tags? So basically, I think by now you have already passed the lesson that teaches about semantic tags. Semantic tags are tags that you add to your HTML just so they give the meaning. They are more about giving the meaning rather than structure. So if you have a header, a semantic tag for header, you put everything that's in the header there. That doesn't change the presentation of your page. It simply adds meaning. So the browser knows that, oh, this is a header, and the search engines know as well that this is a header, this is a footer, this is an article. These semantic tags don't change how the page looks, they just add meaning to it. And also there's this section called custom design. You can customize the images, the text, the placement of those elements, and you can apply some styles to paragraph and heading. So there's this grid-based layout. Here the Udacity team gives you freedom to either use Flexbox, or you can use frameworks. If you think that you don't want to sit and design your own 12 column grid or any other grid, you can use other people's grids, like people who made Bootstrap. They have this 12 column grid. It's really cool. You can use it. You can use Foundation, or you can use any other frameworks. So these frameworks will actually make your life a lot easier if you want, I think if you use Bootstrap, it's pretty much easier than using Flexbox, because in Flexbox you pretty much have to do everything by yourself. Whereas on Bootstrap, there's these predefined classes. You just add the class and everything is working for you. So there's the responsiveness section, and they say all content is responsive and displays all is desktop, mobile, and tablet. I think after you finish doing your project, you should test in all in these devices. You don't have to have an iPad or an Nexus 5. You can inspect and emulate the device on your browser. I'm going to show you that during the lesson. And the content should be the same on all devices. You shouldn't hide anything. And I think this part is pretty important, because if you are going to make a website responsive, you pretty much have to have this meta tag. I'm going to show you on the when I design the portfolio. And then they say if a CSS framework is used, use the classes provided by the framework to make the images responsive, or use media queries to ensure the responsive of the images. Well, they have this section called separation of concerns, where you separate the presentation from the presentation, I mean the structure of the test from the styling. So basically what you do, you just use HTML to format how the whole page is going to look, and then use CSS. Use HTML to format what's going to be the content of the page, and then use CSS to format the looks. And if you want to go a bit further than that, you can even use JavaScript to add actions. So basically, separation of concerns, what it does, it says you should separate your content from how the page looks and how the page acts. So that's basically that separation of concerns. And then there's the code quality part, which is pretty important. You can have your project working everything, but if it doesn't have like a good indentation, and it uses pretty bad spacing, I'm pretty sure you're not going to get approved on the project. So I think it's time for us to jump in the code now. So here's how I do when I'm approaching a problem as such. I first try to find out why first. For instance, here they say I have to have at least 4 images. So I'm gonna write it down here. Over if any of you is asking, I'm using VS Code. I have installed a couple plugins in here. I'm going to share them on the Slack group with students. If you want, I can share the plugins I have installed. So one, I have to have 4 images, and then I have to have a title text. It can be an H1 or an H2, and I have to have a regular paragraph. And I have to have a logo. Well, for this walkthrough, I'm going to try to do this exact mockup. I'm going to try to bring this mockup to life. I'm going to do it in HTML. So the first thing I do, it's basically on the web, everything is divided into boxes. Everything is a box. So what I will do, I'll try and find out the boxes in this layout, and then try to translate it to HTML. For instance, this logo is a box, and this one is also a box. And if you look, these two are inside of a box. So basically everything here is in a box. What I will do is, usually I'll take a pen and try to draw every box in this layout, so it's easier to me to do it. So I'm going to create a new project. For instance, for this project, you're not provided with the a boilerplate project. You have to do all from scratch. So what I will do, I'll just come into here. I'm going to create a folder called portfolio. Oh, it's already taken. Resume. And then, yep, just like they say. And if I come back here into the separation of concerns, I think it's here. Where is it exactly? Okay, there's this part where they tell you what is the project structure, how should you structure your folders, and what should be in those folders. So here they say that all CSS file or style sheets should be in a folder named CSS, and all images should be in a folder named img, and all JavaScript files should be here on the folder for JavaScript files. I am also going to create a new file. I'm going to name it. Yes, sure.
Sorry to interrupt, but we see the rubric, your code.
Sorry.
We're able to see the rubric, but we're able to see the project rubric, but we're not code with your code.
Oh, I see. Oh, I see. Thanks. Let me check that out. So I'm here. Can you see it now? Hi, Brenda.
One second, Ivan.
Yeah. How about now?
We can see it now.
Okay, so this is VS Code. Like I say, I'm going to open. I created this folder called resume, and inside it I create here. I created this folder called resume. Inside it, I created a folder called JS, another one named img, and CSS. So here I'm going to throw my JavaScript file, my img file, and my CSS file. This is basically separation of concerns, just like it was in the rubric. So I'm gonna open this folder here. Right, so here's you can see these folders are all empty, so I can go ahead and create a new file here. I'm going to name it style.css, and as you can see it's empty. I can also open this index.html file. So I'm going to create. So what I just did, I just added a boilerplate HTML code, which what it does, it just adds like the basic HTML you would need to show a page. It added the char set, it added this meta property. So basically what this does, it says on the phone on the viewport. The viewport is it's the size of the window that we're using to view the certain website in a browser. For instance, if you're using your phone and your browser occupies the entire screen, and that's your viewport. You're using a computer and then your browser occupies just a half of your screen, that's your viewport. So what we're doing, we're saying this markup should fit the browser's width. like the width, it should never surpass the width of the browser. That's what this meta tag does. And what this one does, basically, it's to tell Internet Explorer, use your best engine. That's what this one does. And here is the title. I think I'm just gonna say portfolio, and then I'm gonna save it. So if we can, let me just write it here. So the idea is, one, we need to have, let me copy the, get the instructions from the rubric. So here's what we should have. I'm gonna go ahead and comment out this. So we should have at least 4 images. We should have a title, we should have an H1, and we should have a paragraph and a logo. So we are going to try to use this. We're going to try to use the PDF that was provided by Udacity. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, for this to use, I'm going to use Bootstrap. Bootstrap, it's a CSS framework. It's pretty easy to use it. With Bootstrap, for instance, you don't have to go in and make all the breakpoints yourself. You don't have to go and set the media queries for it. They already did that. They already designed it, a 12 grid system, and in which you just use the classes. It's pretty straightforward. So so here, can you guys see this? So if we see, we have basically what Bootstrap does. It says you should divide your website into columns and rows. For instance, if you look closer in this one, you can write Bootstrap. So you can read more about Bootstrap in this link. Open documentation, where you can read more on the how they structure the websites, what are the classes for triggering certain parts. Of course, I'm going to explain the ones I use here, but there's too much more in Bootstrap you can learn later. So name it layout here. Here they explain how everything in Bootstrap, everything has to be in this in a div with a class of container, and you can make the container fluid. There's these breakpoints and all of that. So let's return to the layout. So here we have this box here. I don't know if you can see, and then we have this box here, and then these two boxes, this one and this one, are all wrapped in one box. I don't know if you guys, this is a box and this is a box, but there's this box that wraps both of them, and this one, it's just in one box, which occupies the entire width, and image as well. It has one block that occupies the entire width. And if you get here, this is a blog, it's pretty clear that it's a blog. And in this inside this blog, we have this text, this text and the link of the image, and we have this title, and here we have the image and the text. So basically what we have is, in the first row we have two boxes inside one big box. In this second row, we have one big box, and then here we also have one big box, and in the last row we have three big boxes inside of a big box. So what I would do is I can just, move to VS Code? Yeah, sure. So in order to use Bootstrap, you have to copy this. You have to copy this link, which says this one here. It's available on the website. You can get there. You can use Bootstrap in two ways. You can load it from a CDN, or you can download the CSS file. In this case, I'm loading it from a CDN. So basically, if you just see, this is just a normal CSS file link that calls the Bootstrap. And so that means that we already have the Bootstrap. We can do some testing. And for instance, if I write something, if I create a paragraph, and I test, and then I can come here and open it. So here's the, so if you pay attention enough, this, if I do this and then check this paragraph, and then I check here, it says that it loaded a Bootstrap, so I can go ahead and use it now. So I'm going to do something else. I'm going to try to find some images. Development images. So here's what I do. Web development images. Now, how about coding images? Yep. So I'm going to take this image here and this one, and so I need. So I have this one. This is the smaller one. This is also the smaller one, and I'll take this one as well. And lastly, this one. Yep. So I have these 4 images. I can just go ahead and save them. And remember, save here on the EMG file. So we save images here. Go ahead and save that. Then I save this one as well. And let's save this one. Sure. So now we can return to our VS Code. So here I am. So if you guys can remember, in Bootstrap, everything has to be inside of a container. So we call this one container, which is the box that is going to contain all the rows in our layout. So we have the first row. We have the first row. So I'm just going to create a div here. This is the first row, and what do we have in the first row? Well, we have an image, and another part. In the other part, we have text. We have a text saying the name of the portfolio owner and his acronym. So here we have an image. So we have the images here. Also, there's one image missing. It's called logo. It's a logo. So I'm going to find the logo image. Oh. Of course, well, you can use better images than this. So I'm just finding random images on the internet, but you can always search for better ones, or you can make your own images. So here I have them. I have the logo, and I have the three images at the bottom, and I have the main image. So so here, can you see the images? Okay, so here I have, here there should be the logo image. So I'm going to try and find the logo image. Wow, where's the logo image? Let me refresh it. So here it is. It's called service. I'm going to rename it to logo. Logo, and then I'm gonna close this. And here I'm just going to write here on the image path, it's image dash logo. And so I have my image, and I also, all right, and for Bootstrap, you have to wrap most things inside of a div. So here I am going to wrap this inside of a div. Then I'm going to call md6. I'm going to explain why did I call it call md6, and I also create another div for the age 1. Here I'm going to write my name, so I'm going to write it like this, and underneath it there will be also your acronym. So I'm going to call mine developer ninja. So here's what happens in Bootstrap. So we have this row, which is the very first row. We mentioned it earlier that this row has two boxes. So what Bootstrap does, it divides your row in 12 columns. So if in this case where we just have two boxes, that means that one box occupies 50%, and the other one occupies the other 50%. So 50% of 12, it's 6, and we just say, oh, this box occupies 50%, like this. And we can also say that this other one occupies 50%. We can, of course, we can always run this and see how it looks. So I'm going to refresh it to see how it looks. Here how it looks, it divided the boxes, but as you see, the sizes are big. It has some big margins, and it needs some fixing, but the structure is there. We have a box on the left and the other one on the right. So what we're going to do is to find out why is it showing up like this, and why is this image like this size. Also, one thing to mention, if I since I'm using Bootstrap, if I try to resize the browser, it's already responsive just because I'm using Bootstrap. If we did it everything right, this should be responsive. So if you look at it, it's already responsive. So I didn't have to write like a lot of CSS. I just use Bootstrap and then add the classes there. So it's already responsive. We just have to fix a couple of things. So I think this image seems how big is this image? Oh, it's 200 pixels. We can also, one cool thing you can do, it's if you tweak in your browser, it's you can change the sizes and tweak some stuff using DevTools. For those of you who didn't see, I just came to the image and then I clicked the right mouse and then I went to inspect and it opened DevTools. I'm inspecting this image. I can open here computed to see what are the styles that have been computed for this particular item. So here, this is the box model. We have the margin, the border, and then the padding. And here we have the width and height respectively. So here, if I change the width, let's see what happens when I change the width to maybe 150 pixels. Well, it looks nice, but maybe I can do 125 pixels. Still, what about 100 pixels? I can still do, yeah, I think this size is okay. We can do 80 pixels. And so I just came to DevTools and found out that, oh, it actually looks good using this 80 pixels. So I can just move back to VS Code. I can just come to VS Code and then come here on my styles, and then I can just call this logo image and say, oh, logo image is a class. I can say the width is going to be 80 pixels. And then I can just come up here and for this one, call it the logo image, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, that's correct. And also, we shouldn't forget to include our CSS file. One cool thing to notice is the CSS file. In CSS, we have this thing called specificity and precedence of styles. So basically, if you take your styles and you call them before Bootstrap, it's very likely that the browser, because in CSS styles are cascading, it's very likely that the Bootstrap ends up resetting some of your styles and using its own. So I would suggest you call your custom style. If you want to customize Bootstrap, it's always good to call it after you call Bootstrap. So what I'm just going to do is CSS and then styles. So now I added these two parts. I added the image, and then I added the other part that shows the name and the acronym. So we have if you guys notice it, we have an HR there. So we add this HR in the second row. We have this HR. So we can just add the HR, and then in the third one we have an image. So we put the image here. Just gonna call it image. And in the last row, we have this is going to be for the last row. We have an image. Also, we have a box that has an image inside it. So if you guys want to take a look, we can just return to the rubric so you can look at it closely. It's here. Oh, it's not here. It's let me check. Let me find the design mockup. should be, where's the design mockup? Yeah, right, I found it. So too many tabs open here. So here's the design mockup. Here, so if you guys see it, we have here we just have this dash or line, I don't know how we want to call it, and then we have this image, and we have these small images here at the very bottom. So the question is, how much space does the second image occupy? Well, as you can see, it occupies 100% of this row of the width, 100% of the width. And so what, and here these small boxes, there are 3 boxes, so each one of them occupies about 33%, 33.3. So here we can change. So yeah, we need to add like these 3 boxes, and we have already added this image here, if you guys can remember. So just come up and we return to VS Code. Sure. So just like I said, this is the first row. As you can see here, this is the first row, and then this one is the second row. So this should be outside. This is the second row. Second row we have here. In the second row, as you guys can remember, we just have this HR, and then in the third row we have the image. So just come here and do this. Just say this is a row. Yeah, add every time you add a new row, you have to add this class of row. So Bootstrap knows a new row. In this one, we have an image, and in the fourth row, guys. So we have in this one we have a bunch of images. We have 3 blocks with a bunch of images inside them. So what I will do is just I'll do div. So here I have an image. I have an image, and I have a H1 inside it. Oh, that looks like an H2. And underneath it we have I can put this, we have a paragraph. So we actually have an URL that takes us somewhere. So a URL is like this, a tag. So this repeats itself 3 times. So I just have to copy this one 3 times. So yeah, and so now we have the complete markup. We can start styling stuff. So here we have a very big image. So let's find out which one of our images is big enough to fit this one. So I'm going to rename it and call it center image, and then just indicate the path here and name it center image. Here it is. Oh, something I think every time we use the HTML EMG tag, we have to add an alt to it. So I'm going to say portfolio logo, and alt is, it's basically what it says what the image is or what's inside the image. And also, if you add an alt attribute, if for some reason your image doesn't load because of some internet problem, the alt text is going to show there. And it's also pretty cool if you do alt, you making your site for people who access your site through screen readers and such devices. So you can just call this center image. And so these three are the small images. So I'm going here, I'm just going to check out the, okay, this one. I'm going to name it, this is PHP code, PHP. I return here and then I just do img php, and then I can check this one. It's a keyboard. I can just rename it, call it keyboard. It's always good to keep your name short. That's if you keep your name short, it's very unlikely that you make typos when specifying the path of the image. So I'm just gonna call it keyboard. And also we need the last image. There's an image that's not showing up. I think it's this one. Oh, it's too large. So let's test it out like what you have so far. But before that, let's add the last image. This image is not showing up because it seems to be large. Yeah, this image is pretty large. Well, let's do code. Well, let's include, since we're doing everything locally, so it's cool to use this image. Is a, we would need to convert the image or use something else, but since this is just the idea is to test it out, we can use this image and code. So now we have as you can see, let me refresh it and see what comes out. This image didn't load. Interesting. Let me check the console. Oh, the path. I think it didn't read the path. Let me check. There must be something wrong with the path of the images. Let me refresh it. Oh, this image was not found. This one, this one. Oh, I think I might have messed up with the paths. So let's return to this to VS Code and check what's wrong with the paths. All right, though. So there's this extra slash in here. I don't know if you guys saw it, but there's this. We should remove this slash. And yep, I think this will do the fix. Yep. So we return here. So the image loaded, and yeah, this is how they look. They shouldn't look like this. So let's add the classes now so we can make this look better. So as you can see, without the classes, the image don't arrange themselves how we plan it out and doing it. So we just return to VS Code and say okay, how much space does this image occupy? This image occupies 100% of the width, so we just put col 12. It occupies all 12 columns. So here we're saying that this occupies 6 columns and this one occupies 6 columns. So this one, these two together are a row. So for this image, we just say this image occupies like 100% of the width, so it occupies the entire column. But this one, so we have 3 images, we have to divide it by we have 3 images, we have to divide it by 4. So what we are going to do is to say that each image occupies 4 columns. Since we have 3 images, it's 12 divided by 3. We have 4 columns. Can just copy this out for the other ones. And then have let me check it out for indentation. I have this row. This is the second row. We have in this second row we have an HR, and then in the third row we have an image. In the fourth row we have this, which are 1 and then 2. Yeah, I think this there's yeah. Let me fix this indentation. Oh yeah, right. This one should be div, not G. So now everything is back to normal. We have this first image, and then we have the second image, and we have the third image. Right, correct. So here we just add this class. So we can just go ahead and add some text to it. I'm going to come up with random names, but I'm pretty sure you can do something. And this one is just PHP code. And then here I'm just gonna say URL for PHP code. And then here we have a keyboard. URL for keyboard. And then here we have just some code, and then we just write for code. Of course, all of these links, you want to include them, the href with them. For now, I'm just going to add blank. And then this one, I add blank. And so we can check it out how it looks now. So now that we added the Bootstrap styles, we can check it out how it looks like. So I'm coming back here, and then let's refresh it. Well, let me check out for some. So we have so here are the images. I think we have the first, the second one, and then there's no space. I think there's no room for the third. For some reason, the last image didn't load because we forgot to. There's something here we didn't do. I don't know if you guys can see, but we have this extra slash in here. We needed to delete, and then this one too. And yeah, for now. So here's what I will do. So I will add some classes to these divs, to these images. I mean, so we can make them close to the same size. So I'm going to do here. Just gonna call them small images. What this class will do, I'm just gonna come here and say width 33%. So I don't know if you guys are watching this, but here what I'm saying it's how big the image. I'm not determining whether this image is responsive or not for now. I'm just saying that this should be the size of the image. Can just return. To my portfolio image, then I'm gonna refresh it. Ooh, still looks like extremely big. Well, let's just say 200. So, I have to check it out. What exactly this image looks extremely, just extremely big. If I resize it to 200 pixels, what happens? Yeah, it fits. And then I resize this one to 200 pixels. Yeah. So I'm going to resize all of these images to the same size so they look better. So I'm gonna come to this. I'm gonna return to VS Code, and then I'm going to say all small images have 100 pixels of width. So all of these three images are going to have 100 pixels of width, and also I'm going to add here. I'm going to say small images contain, and then I'm gonna come here and say that it has a margin top of maybe like 30 pixels. So I don't know if you guys notice it, but the image was just too tight. So what I'm going to do is make it a bit smaller, and then here on this image I'm going to add another class called center image, and I'm going to come here on my CSS center image. I'm going to say the width should be 100%, and then yeah, and then I'm going to do the HR too. So for this I'm just gonna say add a class. I'm gonna call this class line, and then I'm gonna come here on my CSS file. I'm gonna say that's a line which has a width of 100%. Since it occupies the entire screen, so it has a width of 100%. So I can return to check it out how it looks on the browser.
Ivan, apologies for interrupting, but I just wanted to be cognizant of time. How about 5 more minutes, and then we'll take a couple student questions.
Okay, sure. So I don't know if you guys can see it now, but now I have this logo, and I have this box, and I have this center image. For now, I have to figure out how I'm going to position these two images, and also I'm going to try to see if so if, as you can see, I don't know if you guys can see it. I'm going to inspect it, and I'm going to click in this button here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to say responsive view, and like this is how the site looks like normally. So I'm resizing it. I don't know if you can see that the elements, the more I resize it, one is on the bottom of the other. And as I do this, and yep, an image and responsive. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a bit of CSS. I'm going to the very top, and I'm going to say, I'm going to call this top row. I'm add a class of top row, and I'm just going to do it here. I'm just say I want that top row to have the same margin, just container. So now I can just return to the browser to check it out how it looks. Here's the browser, and then I can just refresh it. So that should give it should have notice it, but there's a margin here, a slight margin right here. And if I scroll down, I have these three images. Of course, I need to change. I still need to figure out why these images are looking like this. But I think for now I can find, if I resize it, it's responsive, and I just have to figure out why is this image, this one, misbehaving. So I have to check out the width. If I added 100 pixels, oh, it's smaller, and this one as well. If I add like 200 pixels, I'm gonna make 200 pixels for all of them. Yep. I don't know if you guys are noticing, but when I found there's something I want to fix quickly and I want the results right away, I can just change it in the browser. If I want to change the size of this image, I don't have to return to my code editor and then refresh the browser. I just have to come here on the computer, or I can just change it directly. For some reason, I like this option better. I can increase the width and say 200 pixels. And I can say this one too has 300 pixels, and then this one too has 300 pixels. So here's what this is the close I would get to the portfolio mockup. And if I try to resize it, that you guys can see, it's responding accordingly. I just if I increase the size, it responds. So if you, here's how it would look compared to the more to the markup that the mockup that was given to us. So let me just make this last fixes. So what I want to make the small images, make it 200 pixels, and I want to make this rule important. So nothing overrides this rule, so I'm just gonna say important. So what important does, it pretty much says whenever I add this class, this particular style should not be override by any other style or class. So I'm just gonna come here, and to this image I'm going to add a class. I'm gonna call it small image. Let me see if I did here. I call it small images. Small images. And this one is also small images. And this other one too, call it small images. So if I return to the browser, here on the portfolio, I can just refresh it, check it out, and boom, this is how it looks to me. I don't know. So if you guys can recall, let me open the design markup that was given to us. So here's the so so here's the PDF with the design mockup that was given to us. We have on the very first row, we have a logo, we have a name, and then we have this line, and then we have the image that occupies 100% of it, and then we have these three small images at the very bottom. And let's compare to what we have. in here on the one that we just finished. Here we have the same exact thing. We have this logo, we have the text, we have this line here, and then we have the image that occupies 100%, and then we have 3 small images. So I think this is what it would look like. This is how I would approach this project. And Brenda.
Yes, Ivan.
Yeah, I think this is it for now. This is how it should look based on the mockup. I think it looks close to what's on the mockup.
Great. Should we go through just a couple questions that came in while you were giving your walkthrough?
Yeah, sure. Yes, sure. We can start.
Okay. The first one is, because I think you covered pretty much all the pre-submitted questions, but the one that came in is, one of the students wants to know if it's okay to use pixel images, which are from the web. It's a royalty-free images.
So I think you can use any the pixel images. You can use them as long as you credit them for using them. You can just, I don't know if you guys saw this here. I created this URL for keyboard. This usually would be the URL for the image, like where I got the image. I would just write it here and say, oh, I got this image from this website, just for crediting them.
Super. Okay, the other question is, I've put my portfolio together using Flexbox for my featured work section only. Is that okay?
I think you can always do what works best for you. In this case, I use Bootstrap, but I could have used Flexbox alone, or I could use Bootstrap and Flexbox together. I think whatever works for you, it's okay. You can always use both of them or one of them. It depends on you.
Great. Any parting words before we sign off today?
So I had seen the questions, and they have a lot of questions about how to make images responsive. Like I've seen like at least four people asking, how do you make an image responsive? So in this case for Bootstrap, Bootstrap had already made somewhere in Bootstrap code. What they do is just say, for instance, this is the class that we are going to add to all the image. They say, for example, responsive image. So what you need to do is just say the max width, you set it to 100%, and you say the height should be auto. So just adding these two lines and then taking this class. For instance, if I wanted to make like this image responsive, I just needed to come here and add that class, this class responsive images, which is this one that says that the max width should be 100% and the height is auto. And hence you can make, this is one of the ways you can make your image responsive. There's also other, this is the fastest one. There's also other ways. I'm opening the browser so I can share some. There's this, there's the picture attribute for HTML, in which you specify multiple images for different devices. So basically, here's what you say. If the device has at least 650 pixels, use this image, and if the device has this size, use this image. But this is another approach for making images responsive. Personally, I don't like this choice because it includes making several requests to the server, and that somehow damages the experience of the user. You can also, I think, you can use this one and then the other one, but mostly I just use the other one. I try to load as little as images as possible. So the two ways to make your image responsive, you just add the max width to 100% and the height auto. Or you can just set a lot of images for different screen devices. Based on the screen devices, it loads a different image.
Super. Thank you for going over that. One question that came in is, do they have to, I know that you kind of took the example, but somebody wants to know is, do they have to mimic the mock-up image, or can they do what they want for their portfolio site?
Oh, you can do what you want as long as it's within the requirements. So I don't know if you guys notice it, but here on the rubric, it doesn't say that you have to follow strictly to the mockup. They say all they want is a website with 4 images, a title, a paragraph, and a logo. So you can have, if you want to have 10 images, you can do what you can do is have less than 4 images. So you can always like change and adapt. I have an example here of a pretty cool portfolio I found on the internet. Opening. So, for instance, this portfolio would pass if he submitted this portfolio, it would pass. It doesn't have to necessarily be equal to the one that is there. It just have to fulfill these requirements here. I don't know if you see this portfolio. So yeah. So you can make any portfolio. How it looks as long it has these 4 points here. That's why it says the page at minimum includes all the following.
I think something else important to know that I just wanted to stress to everybody who still needs to submit Project 1 is that just remember that it doesn't have to be perfect. Even professional web developers don't reach perfection in a day. It takes years and years and years of experience. So, submit your projects, get it approved. You're learning the skills that you need to receive this nano degree and really grow your career. Ivan, thank you so much for walking us through Project 1 today. It's a huge help to the students. And you host office hours or AMAs every week. Please check the FEND calendar on our Grow with Google site to know when Ivan's online.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
All right, that's it for today. Thanks, everybody. Thank you again, Ivan.
Yeah. Thanks. Cheers.
Cheers.